And welcome to UND Insider Weekly alongside Tom Miller and Brad Schlossman from the Grand Forks Herald, Paul Ralston from UND Athletics. Sans costume, Paul. What's up with that? We thought you were going to have one today.
I'm sorry I disappointed everyone.
You got nothing, do you?
No, I have nothing.
He came back with nothing. Let's go right away to women's hockey last week at home. It was a series that I think everyone considered, or they were on the road, at St. Cloud State. Thought that they'd probably be able to handle St. Cloud State, but the Husky team makes it difficult, as a lot of teams are going to. Brad, what can that team do? They won both games. What can they do about opening things up a little bit, because everybody's just clogging in.
Yeah, and when their goaltender plays well, they can be tough to score on. In the first night, their goalie played really well, but UND's all-world player, Michelle Carvinen, scores 2 goals. One of them was late in the third period that helped them win that one. The second night, their goalie didn't play so well and got pulled, and the score was reflected there, a 6-1 win. So they need really good goaltending to beat teams like North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and when they get it, they can be in the game, and when they don't, there's no chance.
It's one of those deals where they have to win the games that they should win in that league, because when you get down to those top 2 or 3, those are going to be tough sledding, huh?
Well, there's no doubt that you have to take care of business when you have the advantage, and Coach Dulce's team here in the last couple of years has done a better job of that, and certainly they've realized just the importance when they miss from missing out or from seeding from previous years. And you look at the games ahead. Bemidji State, that's going to be somehow the Beavers always play North Dakota tough here, and you look at the schedule ahead, they only have limited non-conference games, so series like this, you just can't afford to give anything away.
And on top of that, in February, they're going to be losing a bunch of players to the Olympics, and they need to win as many games now before they lose Michelle Carvinen and Susanna Tapani and some of those players, so that makes these games extra important.
Got a lot of great players here. Michelle Carvinen, where's she going to sit when her career is over with?
We were kind of waiting for this weekend a little bit, being, we talked about she was the best player on the ice a couple different times, didn't have as many points to show for it. I think Megan Dufault and Josephine Jakobsen were getting a lot of the points early, but this weekend Carvinen kind of got what we saw coming a little bit.
She'll be the 3rd best player ever to play here when she's done.
You going to put her behind the Twins?
Yes, I think behind those two, then her, and they got a couple of young players who may be in that mix soon.
I don't think that the numbers really tell the whole story about the Twins when it's all over, do you?
No. Their impact goes far beyond their goals and points, which will not be matched either. So,
let's talk about the men a little bit. They came home to face the U18 team, wore their pink jerseys with the pink outline on the jerseys, which, by the way, would have looked better with the black helmets, black breezers. Would you agree?
Paul's the fashion expert.
Yeah, good point. Paul likes the pink too.
I honestly, I just think it's a great cause, and I just commend the UND men's hockey team for kind of going forward with this, and the McMillan brothers to really spearhead it, and I think it's great. Fashion faux pas or not, like I say, you tip your cap to the program and all the programs, but especially men's hockey for getting involved. I think that's a great cause.
Strange game. I thought that the skill level of the U.S. team certainly showed in the first period, the speed of the game, and there were a lot of highly skilled players there. They're going to go on and play in college. Second period had the Drake Kajula incident, which, by the way, he's okay. But I thought that UND got a little adrenaline shot from that. But then after that, I think the air kind of went out of the bubble for it, and we were just kind of playing to get it over with at the end, don't you think?
Yeah, they had a pretty comfortable lead, and I think they were just, I don't know, Rocco Grimaldi said his mind was a little bit, he was really concerned. Him and Drake are good friends, and so he was at that point wondering what was happening with Drake. But they dominated the second period, and the game was over at the end of the second period, essentially.
What do you think we saw, Tom? What do you think we learned? What did you learn?
Well, like Brad said, the game really changed when Drake went down with an injury. So it's kind of hard to tell how much you can learn from a game where maybe the drive kind of disappears a little bit in the second half of that game.
I think what really catches my eye a little bit was Mitch McMillan and whether or not he won himself a spot in the lineup for this weekend against St. Cloud State.
Yeah, that's true. A couple of those guys are battling for lineup spots. The other thing that I thought we learned is that Brendan O'Donnell isn't slowing down, so that's really good news for UND.
I guess the one thing that I read that I took away that seemed to make everyone smile is that Colton Sanderson, everybody took a great pride when he had an opportunity to put a puck in the net, and it obviously shows that the team really rallies around a player that comes to work every day, and that was probably a pretty good scene at the Ralph.
I think it's something too that people probably don't realize, Brad. I think you guys have been in enough practices and that type of thing, but the kid comes out there every single day, works just as hard as anybody else, and doesn't get much of a chance to play. And he ended up playing well and not played for a year.
Yeah.
Volleyball team lost at Northern Arizona a while back, but came home this week, had the Montanas, Montana State, and they swept them both 3-0. Ronni Munkeby with 7 kills in the Saturday afternoon, gave her over 1,000 for her career. Do you think that Northern Arizona game kind of put them back in their place a little bit, refocused them a little, or what do you think?
I think that certainly a loss like that for a veteran team can kind of get you refocused for the second half of the conference season. I think that's exactly what it did. I just also think that the Big Sky Conference has some good teams, especially on their home courts, and when you're kind of traveling around in this big, vast conference that is the Big Sky Conference, you might have an off night, and a very good program may have a very good night, and that's kind of what happened there. Credit to UND, Coach Hardy and his team for getting after Montana right away. They didn't even give them a moment's opportunity to breathe on Thursday night and ended that match really quite quickly. And then to move on to Saturday to see Ronni get her 1,000th kill. Coach Hardy takes a timeout, allows the crowd and Ronni and the team to celebrate it. I thought that's a special moment. And those are moments that are helping build kind of this culture around the program. I think they're heading in the right direction again.
I don't think she even knew she had her 1,000th kill, I think she said so.
Yeah.
Well, she had quite the fan section wearing shirts that said "float like a butterfly, sting like a monkey." Kind of want one of those shirts.
But great stuff.
Yeah, they had a good weekend beating Montana State. Montana's a team that's above 500 in the league. It really shows that UND has kind of separated itself in the middle of the pack even and is in that upper echelon.
So they're looking at now Idaho State and Weber State, and it's kind of a trap weekend for them a little bit, because I know Idaho State's one of the top teams in the league, and Weber State's one that Coach Hardy has said all along is just for some reason you have one of those teams that gives you fits, and Weber State's one of them.
Weber State kind of plays a game that they have a coach that is very well established.
He was a men's coach, right? Men's
coach at one time, so they play a little different game. It's very fast-paced. They use their athleticism. The last time that they came here, they played a game where North Dakota didn't really play well defensively, but still just kind of used their offense, and it was kind of an offensive showcase between the two programs. So they're going to have to be on their toes in Ogden, Utah, against Weber State. Idaho State. It's going to be a showdown, so it's going to definitely can't look ahead from this weekend on the road.
Couldn't hear you either with that horn blaring.
Oh, the other thing,
Emily Ashley had a great performance on Saturday afternoon as well, and on Thursday, and that bodes well for the volleyball team to get some other players in there, because they're not going to have some of these other gals next year.
Right. Well, and that came to play with Lexi Robinson being out with an injury this weekend, so. They're going to need somebody like an Emily Ashe and an Emily Thompson to step up and fill some of those hitting roles like Lexi had.
The football team has their work cut out for them in Northern Arizona this week after really another one of those kind of losses last weekend. They've suffered a loss in every way you can so far this season. I don't know what else can happen to that team. Talk a little bit about what that will do to a team who had a 10-0 lead through most of the game, and then saw 2 botched punts, which you figure maybe it happens once, twice, and led to both those scores and ended up losing that game 14-10. Really tough.
Well, that's it's kind of wild, being that we came into the season and we talked about how they had a freshman snapper, that new role for him, true freshman punter. We were a little worried about how those snaps and punts might play out, and it takes until week 7 for this really to bite them, and it's too bad because the offense, the defense, and special teams, one of those units just seems to not click on that given night. We've seen UND's offense roll against South Dakota State. We've seen the defense play well a couple games. Special teams have its day. Just haven't had their day on the right day together.
Unfortunately, I blinked because I was trying not to, and you blink, and all of a sudden you have a blocked punt where one guy gets loose and is able to block it. And North Dakota's defense had a great day. Really making Portland State go the long ways the whole day, and then they had the short field. They score on that. And next time you have to punt the ball away, you realize there's a freshman snapper and a freshman punter, and I think the freshman punter got a little anxious, wanted to look upfield to see if they were sending the dogs again, and may have contributed to his drop, and all of a sudden the game turns on that moment, and it's just been one of those years. It's darn frustrating, and I know the players and the coaching staff all kind of look at each other like, what's the next thing that's going to happen? And unfortunately, on Saturday, that was the next thing that happened.
And you got a guy named Bowman they got to contend with this weekend in Northern Arizona too. That won't be anything easy, right?
The running backs are the big sky. Just keep cranking out good ones.